Hey everybody, once I saw the data on this city, I absolutely had to make a video on it. I can't wait for you to watch right to the very end so that you see everything about St. Thomas and what's happening down there. But for people who don't know me, I'm Corey McKinnon, multiple 8-figure real estate investor, been doing this for close to 2 decades. And I do the research, I give the examples, I highlight people that are having success in real estate so you can make moves and move forward too with your portfolio and retire from your day job. Today we're going to be talking about a trend that you can probably get twice the return on your real estate investing than other returns. And for me, a good return in real estate is typically like 15, 20, maybe 25% per year when it comes to real estate investing. I think if you're smart with some of the advice towards the end of the video here, you'll be able to well outperform those numbers. And you can do that by capitalizing on a trend in the marketplace. So what is a trend? All right, so a trend is something that is so big that it really can't be ignored. And there's not great examples all the time, but I'm gonna give you all the stats and the figures on St. Thomas and why you need to be paying attention here. So recently, Justin Trudeau was actually in St. Thomas, and yes, there were snipers on top of buildings and there was OPP officers everywhere because he was actually down there to meet somebody high up from VW and also to have meetings in the area too. So for people that don't know much about St. Thomas, let me give you some of the stats here on why it's kind of been ignored for a long period of time until recently. So St. Thomas was actually originally known as a train hub. That's what it was known for, and then shifted into more the automotive and trucking sector. But a lot of those jobs went away starting in 2008. They lost Delmer, that was the trucking plant. And then 2011, they lost the Ford plant. With both of those companies combined leaving the area, that was almost 3,000 jobs that were lost. And St. Thomas isn't that big of a town. It's about 40,000 people. So at one point, when those two left within 3 years, 1 out of every like 5, 6, or 7 people lost their job in the area, which really just devastated the economics when it came to St. Thomas. So from there, it really was marketed as like, hey, come to St. Thomas, get 25% more house here, pay 25% less. So that was really the play in St. Thomas. You're very close to London, Ontario. So a lot of people were living in St. Thomas and then commuting into London, which is 10 times the size. London, Ontario, if you don't know, it's over 400,000 people and growing all the time. So that's what it was doing for about 5 or 10 years until recently. There's been a lot of good things happening to St. Thomas. A lot of businesses going there because there's a lot of these vacant, large commercial areas that can actually be ripe for redevelopment. So we had the Amazon plant come into St. Thomas recently. That's going to be providing about 1,500 jobs to the area, a lot of economic spinoff here. But then recently, we've also got this Volkswagen plant coming to St. Thomas. And when I heard it is going to be the biggest car plant in Canada. I mean, I've driven by the Cami plant in the Woodstock area. It is quite mind-blowing there as well. I mean, it's the size of multiple football fields. So this plant is going to be built on 1,500 acres worth of land. So just try to get your mind around that. It's going to employ about 3,000 people. And when it comes to all the spin-off jobs, they actually say it's going to create up to 10 times that for work. And what it's going to contribute to the GDP, the gross domestic product of Canada, it's going to be $300 billion over the next decade. And when you look at Canada's GDP over an annual basis, we're at about 1.8, 1.9%. So do the math of $30 billion on that. That's about 1.5 to 1.6% of everything that happens in Canada is going to be happening right in St. Thomas, Ontario. It's just crazy, right? And when you compare that to the population of the city, that means that everybody that lives in St. Thomas for 40,000 versus our population here in Canada, it means that they're going to be 10 times more productive. They're going to be contributing to the gross domestic product of Canada 10 times more than the average person. So when I saw some of these numbers here, I just had to do a video and let people know, look, don't ignore it. You've got 4 years to kind of prepare, but the people that start buying now are going to be the ones that benefit the most. And I've actually got some strategies and some ideas for you here. I'm going to look into the crystal ball and give you some of my best advice here on what I would be doing when it comes to St. Thomas, Ontario. All right, so here's the first play. First play is actually going to be investing in land and things to do with land, all right? So if you can actually find building lots in St. Thomas, Ontario, just go buy them, sit on them. That's called land banking, and you will be able to resell it for a higher price in the future. I mean, right now, things have been beat up with interest rates, so it should be reasonable, especially if you can buy privately from someone that just wants to get rid of the land. and sit on it and sell it when it makes sense. The next one would be if there's any opportunities in St. Thomas. This is still a land play, but you look for properties that have wider frontages where you can actually go and sever off a lot, go build on that lot or sell it off, do whatever you want with it. There's also going to be infill opportunities as well. So what is infill? Infill is when you buy a property that has more of a dilapidated building on it, where the value is really in the land. And you also have to factor in your demolition costs, right? It does cost $20,000 to $30,000 all in to get rid of some buildings, depending on the size and what materials are in the house. There could be some infill plays there as well, where you find a motivated seller, they really ignored the house, hasn't been lived in for a long period of time, and it's pretty much falling over. You can go offer them less than land value because there's a lot of work there and some expense to go and tear it down and get it ready for building, getting it to the starting line. So that's one of your other land plays. Another sector in the land area that you could be focusing on is all around St. Thomas, there is a lot of farmland, okay? So lots of big pieces of land around St. Thomas. Now you can't just go easily convert farmland to a subdivision or neighborhood, but you could go look at the city plan and what the city wants to be doing with the land around St. Thomas, and maybe you can actually pick up a piece of land, go apply to get it rezoned for a subdivision. That is more of a ninja move here. You have to have some experience in that field, but I'm just saying the mayor of London said, look, I need 500 houses built this year and every single year leading up to the plant being built. So if you have a way to get more land for the mayor, they are already green lighting a lot of development processes. Anything to do with the plant is going to get green lighted so that they can actually get it to the starting line sooner. I guess that a lot of that stuff is going to get dripped down to the regular residential and even like smaller commercial type of buildings here so that they get pushed through a little bit quicker as well. The last play when it comes to land is a little bit different, and this one is going to be redevelopment. Okay, this is where you might have some bigger retail type stores or commercial buildings that could be rezoned into multifamily. So that leads me into my next topic, which focusing on multifamily. If you are a real estate investor in St. Thomas or London or Southwestern Ontario, really anywhere in Canada, you could be investing in the area in good, solid multifamily properties. But you got to buy them now and wait for that hockey curve effect to happen a few years down the road. And my biggest advice is to make sure that you're actually buying the right units. Okay, so these plant workers, Trudeau said that this is going to be creating a lot of middle income jobs. If you still believe that there is a middle class, those people aren't going to really want to live in like bachelors or one bedroom apartments. So make sure that your unit suite mix is at least 2 bedrooms. I think that's always a great sweet spot. Just make sure you have the right unit mix when it comes to multifamily. Do your renovations now, or you can even just buy property, wait to renovate them because you've got your ticket in the door to the St. Thomas trend. You can always renovate a little bit later, find tenants that only want to stick around for 1 or 2 years, and then you can go renovate and get ready for the rush of people coming in here. In about 4 years is when the plant's going to be online. All right, the third strategy is going to be flipping, but there's going to be a little bit of a different twist to this here, okay? You want to go and find properties that are worth flipping, okay? That's when you need to make the money on the buy. What your purchase price is versus what the ARV is and what the construction cost is in the middle. You want to make sure that all those numbers make sense, which, hey, some people actually got stuck with some bad flips over the last year. However, in this scenario, you want to buy a property that's worth flipping and then hold on to it. Make sure that it can make sense as a rental. So just be prepared to be able to hold on to it. And again, rent it for someone that only wants to stay in that unit for 1, maybe 2 years, and just keep cycling it over. You want to keep the tenants turning over so that when this trend does actually come online, more people are looking to buy in the area, you can actually go cash out, make your sale. Interest rates should be lower then anyways. You'll be way more profitable. You could even try to explore more of that middle class home, all right? Usually flipping works really well for people that want to get into entry level homes. This could actually work for entry level and middle or medium type homes, because with these middle type class jobs that are going to be created, these people are going to be making good income. They don't want to necessarily be in starter home type neighborhoods, all right? At the end of the day, even though we are in a tighter economy, people are still going to spend beyond their means and they're going to want to max out what they can actually afford. So that's flipping or finding flip-like properties that you can hold on to. Maybe you even Airbnb those flips. There's already a shortage of rentals and houses in the area. If you heard what the mayor was saying, right? I need 500 homes. So you could actually be short-term renting out these properties. And the kinds of people that typically come in first, I actually got to live through this here in Sarnia, Ontario. A lot smaller, development play here. It wasn't a $7 billion plant that they were building, but there was $2.2 billion worth of plant refinery work that came to Sarnia over the period of 5 years. So I got to experience that here. And just the supply and demand play was awesome for medium-term rentals, and I think that could work in St. Thomas here as well. Okay, and one final point, don't ignore the areas or the cities around St. Thomas. You have all these other smaller areas, so if people aren't getting what they want in St. Thomas eventually, you could actually play the tertiary market to St. Thomas. St. Thomas is actually a tertiary market, but you could play the tertiary to the tertiary market play of all these other areas. So, you know, it's an electric car plant, all right? So electric cars have a lower cost factor to be driving every single day than a gas car. So I don't think that the employees of that plant are gonna mind driving 20 or 30 minutes to get to work, especially if they do have an electric car. So there you have it. Make sure you're paying attention to things within 20 or 30 minutes of St. Thomas. Now, hopefully if you're getting value from today's video here, gang, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Drop a comment down below before I give you the last and final kind of strategy that you can be using in St. Thomas. So the last one here, I usually don't recommend this, okay? So I have a hard time even recommending this on the video, but you could actually invest, and I think still do well, in new construction type of a play. And here's why, all right? So when the trend is this strong, you could go and find a good quality builder that is gonna go build you your product, and maybe you're okay with being one of the last houses that are built, okay? Lock in your prices now, because there's a good chance that as long as you don't go crazy with all your finishes and spending on the building, you know, the cost of construction has come down here a little bit, and builders aren't necessarily getting their strike price that they used to, so you might have a little bit of negotiation power there, or maybe not, because they know the play in St. Thomas here as well. So go and get your new construction home built. You know, just drag it out a little bit so that you don't have to hold it as long. Again, you could rent it on the short-term rental market. You could do regular rentals. You just want to make sure that you're not bleeding. You don't want to be upside down, or you don't want to be negative when it comes to your rental, okay? So, and try to pick that sweet spot of like the right part of town where people want to be, proximity to the plant. You don't want to be buying massive, massive homes. You also don't want to be buying like the smallest home, okay? I think right in the middle is going to be like Goldilocks. It fits just right, feels just right. So there you go, gang. Those are my tips and how I'd be investing in St. Thomas. At the end of the day, real estate works. You just need to work the right plays when it comes to real estate. And I gotta tell you, when they say the biggest car plant in Canada, to me, my eyes and ears were just all over it. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you ever want more help when it comes to real estate investing, make sure that you're on our newsletter. We bring people together all the time to learn more about real estate investing. We're always dropping videos here on the channel. Go follow me on Instagram. Until the next video there, gang, keep investing in real estate, make smart decisions, always run your numbers, and we'll talk to you soon.